Welcome to UnSUCKcessful. We're your hosts, Jen.
And I'm Brandi, and this is the podcast where we admit out loud
that we suck.
So if life has ever felt like a dumpster fire,
you're in the right place.
Well, let's get into it.
This week on UnSUCKcessful, we're getting into the world of personality tests, and we're asking the big question. Are you still basing your identity off a quiz you took a decade ago? From Myers-Briggs to Enneagram to love language, astrology, and the DISC profile, we're diving into all the ways we've tried to figure ourselves out and why it might be time to update your results. If you've ever said, I'm just a type 3 and that's why I work like a maniac, or I ghost people because I'm a Pisces, this one's for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend who's obsessed with personality tests or someone who totally misuses them as an excuse. Take a screenshot of your favorite part, tag us at UnSUCKcessful Podcast. We love seeing what resonates with you. Let's get into it.
Okay, well, welcome back to UnSUCKcessful.
I really like how you do that.
I enunciated.
You enunciate the suck. We put the suck in success.
Or we take it out.
We help you take it out.
We're helping you take it out. And today, we are going to chat a little bit about personality tests and assessments. And I used to be a really big personality test assessment junkie. And until you met me. I'm just kidding. No, I think I shouldn't say I used to be. I probably still am. I do all the things. Recently it came to light because somebody asked me to fill out one that I'd never done. The DISC, is it called DISC?
Yeah.
Assessment, which I'd never done. And I'm like, ooh, a new one.
You know why? It's probably from like the Cosmo magazines or the teen
magazines.
God. And you just...
Those were the best.
Yeah. So who's a millennial girl who doesn't love a good quiz?
Yes. I love the quizzes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
Totally. My very first assessment that I did was in university. Outside of the teen magazine ones. And I was in a program called the IME, Integrated Management Experience Program. It was like a kind of not a co-op, but you had to apply to get into it. It was only available in your third year in the marketing or management program. And it was application only. It was more integrated. So it was like more case study built, and it was like different. It was more like college in that like you go and you show up every day for 3 hours and you're part of this group and this team. And it was really cool because what they did was in the beginning of the year, they had all of us do the Myers-Briggs test. Okay. And so we all did it. And then what happened was they took our results and then they put us in teams of people that are not your type. And then you were with this team for the whole year. And so what it forced you to do is obviously work with people that are not like you, that have different strengths. And then obviously the idea is that they would complement your where the weaknesses and the strength comes in. And so that was really very like corporate, and it's like kind of structure, which I think and at that time too, like this was, 18 years ago, I think that's when really like companies were starting to do this more, or as part of like job applications, asking this type of information, or then, taking their executive team or their leadership team or their management team and doing these types of assessments to kind of see their strengths and their weaknesses, and like building kind of units around that. And so that was my first kind of insight into it. What are you
That's
pulling
cool.
up?
I'm just pulling up like what the Myers-Briggs is, because is this your EMT?
This is the so I'm very well versed. There's 16 personalities.
J.
Yes. So my husband, I don't know what you are, Jen. This is the problem.
Come on, Brandi. We've had this before. What are you? Because I'm one letter off of you.
So what I am. So this is what's so fascinating. I mean, I have not taken this test in a while, and I actually think this is why I'm bringing this up, because I do potentially think that I may have changed.
Yes.
And I haven't done it in a long time. When I first did it in university, I came out as an ENFJ. Okay. So what is that? So I can explain what they all are without even looking at the screen. So there's the E. What happens is that's the first letter. You're either an E or an I. So you're either extroverted or introverted. Now, it's a spectrum and a scale. This is the problem that people don't realize. It's not that you're just like extroverted or introverted. I remember, I'll never forget, there was this guy in our class and he was off the charts on the E. Like he was like 99th percentile. Whereas me, I'm an E, but I'm like a 60. So I'm like just off,
Extroversion.
on the extroversion. So I'm not as extroverted as this guy, but I'm still an E, right?
Right.
And this is where I think these personality tests is like, you're not a box. Yeah, sure. I'm in the E box with this guy, but I am not like, he's off the wall crazy, So
Yeah. Just checking my GoDaddy here. Just kidding. It's not what I want to do. This is my squirrel brain. I'm listening to you. And I just got a notification that I have a GoDaddy renewal, so I just clicked on it in my email. I'm sorry. That's so rude.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's funny.
keep going.
So then there's the E and the I, so introversion, extroversion. I think that one's pretty straightforward. People like know what that means, right?
Yes.
Then the next one is the N or the S. So an N is intuitive, and then the S is sensory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sensing.
And those, like, we have to kind of like look that up a little bit. So the S is typically, do you prefer to focus on basic information, or do you prefer to interpret and add meaning? Like, definitely, I add meaning. I'm a high N, and I'm very high on the N as well for myself. And then the other one is feeling, F or T. So feeling or thinking. And obviously that feels like a little bit straightforward. I don't know what it says here in it.
The fact that you just said it. Yeah. Making decisions.
Logical inconsistency, or do you first look to people and circumstances? Like first look to people and circumstances. And so I'm a F. And then there's the P and the J. So P is perceiving and J is judging. And so with J, when you're dealing with the outside world, do you prefer to get things decided, or do you prefer to stay open to new information?
Mm-hmm. So this is where I remember back to when we were working with Heather.
Yes, you did. You must have taken this when we worked with Heather.
Yeah.
Because I was going to talk about that next.
Okay. Segue into this. I remember that I was a judging. Brandi was a perceiving. Were you perceiving?
I was.
Okay. So that's what I remember. I remember between you and I and this interaction years ago, this is how I remember what I was. Yes. I remember that I was the J and you were the P, and otherwise we were the same.
So you were an ENFJ. Okay.
Yeah.
So in university, I was an ENFJ. It came back as that. But then when I did this test with Heather, which was much more comprehensive, it was a more comprehensive test. And that's the other thing too. Like, it depends on the questions that are being asked and who's facilitating it and all. It also depends on the time of day when you're taking it. Oh my God. Time of the month. Yeah. Well, totally. Exactly. Having said that, this one told me that my P and my J, so like I was 51% on P and 49% J. So that's why like I kind of identify with both. Anywho, that's this particular test. And so this is the Myers-Briggs. And there's 16 different kind of personalities. And what's really cool is I've learned over the years, so my husband is an ISTJ, so the complete opposite. We are complete opposites. And what's fascinating is also there's more kind of information out there about the the cognition of the personality type. So it's not necessarily your personality, but it's your it is your personality, but it's how your brain works, right? Like it's how your brain works. And once it was explained to me that my gifts, the things that like I'm strongest at, my husband, he tapped out at 3 years old. Wow, interesting. Cognitively, development wise, and vice versa. So where he's really strong, my cognitive ability tapped out at 3 years old. There's a lot of really interesting kind of like studies on that. Anyway, that's always been a fascinating thing for me. So yeah, there's the Myers-Briggs, there's the Enneagram that's obviously people has gained steam. And one of the things that I will say about Myers-Briggs and the difference between Myers-Briggs and Enneagram is the Enneagram focuses more on the negative. And the faults, the perceived weaknesses, whereas a Myers-Briggs is a much more positive kind of test. And I know that you've taken the Enneagram. Yeah, I'm a strong 8. Now I took this probably maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I was taking the test again the other day after when Brandi did the DISC test. She sent it to me and then I did that, which was super interesting too. And then I was going to do this one again because I believe I've gone through so much transformation and change in the last 3 years. I wonder if I'm still this person. Like I used to be more controlling and more go get in there. I might still be that, but the numbers might be a little bit different. So like I'm an 8
I mean, there's so many things. I don't even know what the SOSX stuff means. I don't have the stuff right here. Do you know that?
The S, I don't. Usually it's like wing, your wing.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what that is.
Social variant.
This is a different test. See, and this is the thing.
Oh, I'm an 8 W7.
Yeah, wing
8 with.
You're a wing 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that the Enneagram works is that it's like in a circle. So if you were to, if there's 8 types, if you were to look at it as a circle, you're going to have and what the wing means is like basically the type or the personality that's beside you. So you could be an 8 wing 1, or you could be an 8 wing 7, right?
Okay.
So it's like in a circle. Anyway, so you could identify with probably some of those things, but you can't be an 8 wing 3.
Right.
For example.
Right.
And so when I did the Enneagram, what was funny about that one is I had done this test and I came back as a 9. And then I started working with David, who both Jen and I coached with. And the first day I was telling him this, and he was like, "You're not a 9."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, I don't know. It says I'm a 9."
Yeah, I must be a 9.
And he's like, "No, I'm going to send you my test." So, and then he sends it to me. He didn't put words in my mouth either. Like he just was like, "I'm not so sure about that. Can you take my test?" Basically. And then I came back a 3.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, "Yes, you're a 3." So
I think I'm very much an 8. An 8.
100% you're an 8.
And so whether I'm still an 8.
So my Chanel's an 8. My business partner's an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is mine or if this is just an example.
An example.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what the?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at a thing here. Yeah.
Anyway, I think what's interesting with these personality types is because people are always like, what does it do for you? Mm-hmm. You know, what do you get out of it? And I think when you are really like, it's not even necessarily me and the test about myself. Like this is my perspective. It's about what I'm always fascinated about is the other types, right? Because it's like, and even just articulating things about yourself or things that you already know about yourself, but don't realize that those are different from other people.
Yeah.
Right. And so
totally.
For me, it's never been actually about myself. It's about other people.
Yeah.
And even in interacting and how you interact with people. What made me laugh about the DISC test, this particular one that Jen and I both did, was it was designed more for teams and work environments and sales opportunities.
Yeah.
So it made me laugh so hard because it's literally like, okay, in a sales presentation, like if you're presenting to Brandi, this is how you need to act to gain her respect, trust, and potentially close a sale. These are the things you need to do because of this is her personality type. And that's really fascinating to me. So when you get into like the psychology, obviously, of like from a sales perspective, and dealing with people in that way, I think that's really cool with all of these different types of tests.
Yeah, I think so too. This is mine. It is actually mine.
Your Enneagram one. This is an intense one.
This is the one David gave me. So I did October 28th.
He must have had a different time. I didn't have it that good. That's a really nice one.
Yeah. At 10:29 a.m. is when I did it.
Were you well rested?
I don't know. That's when my dad was sick and it was really hard.
Oh, okay.
He was doing good. In October, he was doing good. So I might have been okay. And then he went downhill after October.
What sticks out for you?
Well, I was going to read, I don't know, I'm going to have to read this again. I think I agree with how looking at different personality tests really helps you kind of identify some of those things or almost validate some of the ways that you feel, right? Like it makes it okay instead of kind of thinking like, why am I like this or whatever? Someone might criticize you for a certain like characteristic about you. And you might think that might be something that even a teacher or a parent or a friend criticized you when you were young about it. Even the fact that we can both do a whole bunch of stuff at the same time, that's often criticized as an inability to focus. But it's really not. And it's actually a gift in the fact that we can manage so much at once. And so there's a way to take them and validate it and look at the positives and also kind of look at some of the things that might be holding you back, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to change those things. You are saying like what they can mean. So this literally says making the most out of who you are in this little write-up of mine. The Enneagram presents a rich opportunity to discover what drives us, what matters to us, and who we are at our core. You may have found that your Enneagram report confirms some of what you already knew about yourself. You may also have found words for aspects of yourself that you were aware of, but you didn't know how to describe. And you may have also seen some sides to yourself that you were uncomfortable with. And that's interesting too, to be able to like sit with those things and be like, oh, I am like that.
Well, and I often find that a lot of people that do some of these tests are like, well, that's not. I'm like, think about it. You know, or okay, and it might not be, but this is an opportunity to kind of think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it also says many people find that taking the Enneagram assessment and discovering their type helps them get back in touch with important parts of themselves that have been obscured or pushed aside in daily life, right? We talk about living in default instead of living with intention. And that's something that can happen. Others find that with the Enneagram helps them to understand the paths they might take to be more fulfilled and empowered in their goals. Whatever your purpose with the Enneagram, I think for allowing us to help you along your way. So this is a really good way to put it. And I think that I love the different tests too, but I also think that we as human beings have this amazing ability to adapt. And I don't like it when you use tools like this and people will almost create victim stories around it, or they'll just, they'll just be that and forever be that and just say, well, this is just how I am. And this is who I am. This is my characteristic, my personality test of this. That even goes with the 5 love languages, right? Like the 5 love languages. I've had this. We've probably had this conversation so often. People who rely so heavily on the 5 love languages, like that will change over time. Give me a mother who has a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old who doesn't have acts of service as her number 1 love language. Mm-hmm. And I am willing to bet that physical touch is at the fucking bottom, because the last thing you want to be after being needed all fucking day is touched. And then that's going to flip. And even hormones too, like perimenopause. Like
now it's gonna flip, because like now it's like I'm like, kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Tell me more. I don't feel like I have a purpose, and it's gonna change. And so because we have that unique ability to adapt and adapt quickly because of our thinking power and our will to do things, you can change these. Yeah. It's not defined. These are just personality things. This doesn't mean that's in your core or in your being. So that's important to remember. If you don't like something about who you are, freaking change it. Like, just fucking change it. Change it. Right? If you really like a certain aspect, you want to be more funny, then change it. Be more funny. If you want to swear less, then try to swear less. It's not on my list.
Try to be more funny. Like, that is a goal. I want to be more funny.
Seriously? I
think
we're pretty fucking funny.
No, but I want to be funnier.
Well, now that you're
that's my goal.
Now that you're off your SSRIs,
yes,
I think you are more funny. Actually, like I can legit see it in the episodes of the change.
Well, I try. You see, I used to be like funnier. I think I'm like not as funny anymore.
I think the sense of humor
is it coming back?
Changing.
Is it
no?
changing?
I think it changes. Like I think I'm really funny, but I have I have a really dry sense of humor. And I think that's what's funny about me. See? And like Nick, I'll like send Nick a joke. Like I will laugh. So Tevi. Right? I think I've said this before. I'm like, I laugh so hard at some of the shit she posts.
She posts the best. Shout out to Tevi. You have to follow Tevi.
Yeah, the funny thing is I've met Tevi in real life. We've never hung out. Like I actually want to do like a day where we just hang out. Like we could all do this.
We're gonna hang out with you, Tevi. We're gonna hang out, and it's just gonna be funny. She does have super dry humor.
I know. Yeah. And I feel like we're
I don't even know what you call that, like deadpan sometimes too. Like I know I die. Like I wonder if people like can react to that. And what I often find too is I'll like post stuff on my like stories or whatever, and then she'll laugh at my stuff, and she's like the only one, or you do too. Yeah. But she's the only other one that does, and I'm like, yeah, it's funny, right? Like I think I'm funny. Yeah. Nobody else picked up on that, or are they just too afraid to like laugh at things?
I think people just like look at stuff and don't take the effort to put emotions in.
No, but I also think like people might think I'm like more serious than I am. Yeah. Like I think maybe
they're like, is this a joke?
Or they're not sure, or they're afraid of offending me. Trust me, you can't offend me.
Yeah,
like you.
Can't. Yeah, I know.
No, you can't.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Well, we should look up a personality test and find out what's going to offend you. Oh, we should do a test. Let's look that up right now.
Okay. Bob's sleeping on my computer.
No, I think I can pull it up.
Oh yeah, I sent it to you.
Because you sent it to me. Like I wonder if it said.
So after we look at our disc tests, I want to talk about other things like the gene key and human design.
Well, let's talk about it right now.
Okay, so there's also, they're not tests, they're just your profiles.
Yes.
And it's more astrologically based.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that too, like I'm a Capricorn.
Yes. Brandi I almost called you Arlo. That was really weird. Brandi is a Capricorn. I'm a Pisces, and I'm a fairly true Pisces. I want someone to do a birth chart reading. Okay, if anyone who listens to this knows someone who will read your birth chart, because I have an app that reads it for me.
Yes.
Yeah, we have that app, and it's bang on, but I don't really know what like the rising sun.
I don't understand any of that either.
I think we talked about this one. So I want to know more about that. But in human design, it takes where you were born,
it's the same as the birth chart reading.
Yeah, it is. It's just a different way to read it. Where you were born, when you were born, the day, the date, the time, that kind of thing. And it puts it into a profile. And that's how Brandi and I both figured out we were manifesting generators. Now that to me was different than a personality test, because that to me felt more like this is stuff that's at the core. Yes. This is who I am. And that's not the stuff where if you want to be more funny, be more funny. Like that's the stuff where this is who you are. And the more you try to embrace it and just like be it and truly authentically live in that energy, you shall align and you will fulfill your purpose on this planet. So that's where the different things are. And there is another one called the Gene Keys.
Interesting. I've never heard of that one.
Gene Keys. So Rob and Gary do it. So, yeah. And so it's part of the shamanic journey that we go through.
So Rob and Gary, the Journey of Mental Collective. And so you can listen to that episode too.
Yeah. And they ran my Gene Key and Nick, and then actually we ran the whole family, which was interesting. So there's a part in the Gene Key, and I wish I would describe this perfectly, but when you were saying that you and Brent are opposites,
yes,
with the personality test and the Myers-Briggs, Nick and I, there's two numbers, and there's a number which is your shadow. I'm going to say this wrong. I'm sorry. But there's like your shadow.
Sorry, I have to cough.
That's okay. No, hold it in.
There. Okay, stop.
You good? Okay. There's your shadow, and then there's like your purpose. It's not called your purpose, but it's your thing that kind of like holds you back, that you're on this planet. That you have to work through. Yeah. And that's your purpose on the planet, is to work through the shadow and
work
come out
through
the other
side.
side. Right?
Okay.
And then the other one, it's shadow work.
Like you work through, that's your purpose.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then on the other side, it is your gift. And it's like what you were brought into this planet, into this human life form being with. This is your power. Now, it's so fucked up. And the universe is like hilarious, a great sense of humor, because mine and Nick's are the exact numbers reversed.
There you go.
I know.
I could see it.
Yes. So his shadow is my gift.
And that is the way.
Yes. His shadow is my gift, and my shadow is his gift. So you can imagine in our household, like we're like, come on. And so the more that we can both embrace that his reason for being on this planet is, and the reason why we're together is he is to teach me and pull me out of my shadow. And I am to teach him and pull him out of his shadow. And Rob and Gary, we've never seen this before. This is crazy that it was the exact same numbers. Yeah. So I don't know what that means, y'all, but we're still together.
See, here's what, and the whole purpose of this episode is like, okay, so doing these things, personality tests or these types of tests or things where you get to learn more about yourself.
You learn about the people around you.
You're learning about the people around you, and then you have that awareness level, and then it makes like life like a little bit easier, and then not only easier, but more successful. So, instead of you and Nick just butting heads, now you're like butting heads,
fighting and getting a divorce and whatever.
Now you're fighting, and it's like at least you have an awareness around it, and then you're like a little bit more compassion and a little bit more like willingness to less like ego, and you can kind of that's what it gives you.
Yes, it tells me that he will see things different than me, because he is he's not afraid of the things that I'm afraid of. And I'm not afraid of the stuff that he's afraid of. I mean, it's so easy to see as soon as you say it out loud. And if I let my ego back the fuck off for a minute, what the fuck's in this episode? If I let my ego back away and back off, then I can learn from what he has to say instead of fighting it. and vice versa. So very interesting.
Yeah.
And especially for teens too, right?
What were we saying about what I was supposed to be looking up on your...
Well, you're
I was looking up, I had it,
test.
but what was the question that I asked?
What would offend me?
What would offend you? Okay, so let's see here. What offend you? Well, offend. I don't know if this is any offense. There's nothing here offensive, but but my favorite is like, make a great first impression with Jen. Okay, this is how you make a great first impression with Jen. Showcase your sense of humor. See, you know what? Like, really? This is why.
That's why you're here. Because you're funny.
Use surprises to get her attention. Surprises. Use surprises. Get your attention. Well, I think that's very much you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I like surprises.
Yes, of course. Use visual aids to support your pitch.
Yeah, I'm visual, 100%.
Yeah. Ask about their vision for the future.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Clearly.
That's nothing like offensive. But listen and engage with their personal stories. Project enthusiasm and energy. And switch up the subject. Keep things interesting.
I mean,
nutshell. So for me, geez, come on. Why is it not wanting to go?
I wonder if there's a thunderstorm rolling in.
Oh, there we go.
Remember at 28 minutes, I gotta edit.
Okay, make a great first impression with Brandi. Make an effort to focus the conversation. Oh. Thank you, Jen. You know what? Honestly, I really do appreciate that because I can get off on a tangent. And
do I focus it? Like I can do. Okay,
you do.
Good.
I really appreciate you focusing my conversation. So make another great first impression with Brandi. Project confidence. 100%. Like I laughed when I saw this because at first I was like, is this really me? Like, and then I looked at a couple of these and I was like, yes. So projecting confidence is really important to me. And I don't know. In fact, I was chatting with my hairstylist the other day about this because there's 2 incidences with particular people that I remember distinctly because of the fact that they didn't project confidence. Like, and it just absolutely, like, nothing irritates me more than people, like, if I'm first meeting you and if you, like, shake my hand and you, like, go like this, like the dead fish. Yeah, like, I can't, or, like, don't look me in the eye, like, look away. Just, like, if you don't speak up. Yeah. Like, these are things.
You're like, this isn't my people.
Right away. And it's hard for me to can get quite engaged. In fact, when I was selling my first business, one of the potential buyers, as soon as she walked in, that's so funny. She didn't project confidence and it was very difficult for me to continue to engage in the conversation. Anyway, apparently you shouldn't be thrown off by a blunt comment.
Yeah.
Do I make blunt comments? I don't know if I do. See, and that's where I was like, I'm not sure. Do I?
I think I make a lot of blunt
comments. I think I make like some random comments that like make no sense.
No, I think you do make blunt comments. I think you're pretty direct.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah, I think but I don't think they're not hurtful or anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you're not just like off the cuff.
Mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, so that's not just like opposite of that.
And then make another one to make a first impression with me is ask me about my goals.
That kind of goes with like the deep subjects that we talk about. Like I think between both of us, there's not really a lot of like surface level conversation.
And then this one was my favorite, underneath building trust with me. Don't be afraid to disagree with me, which very interesting because what's funny about this is that I've often found myself very conflict averse, right? Like I don't go into conflict. And yes, the aha for me out of kind of what I received and what I read from this was that because I was thinking, okay, well, I'm not like a, conflict like interested in conflict, but I'm not afraid to disagree or have conversations with people that have, different mindsets than me or different ideas or whatnot. So I'm not afraid of that. Conflict, I think, is a very different thing than somebody.
That was some of these questions too, right? Did it ask about conflict?
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, I think it did. Anyway, I turned out on the DISC assessment to be a driver.
And then I'm going to say, I turned out to be okay. Not to be okay.
We're getting there.
You did.
And then I got to look that up. Influence?
Oh, influencer. Yeah, I was an influencer. Yeah. And that makes big sense.
And then the other thing is like underneath, like in doing presentations, I think my favorite thing was in product demos. Basically allow her to drive the pace and skip small talk and jump right to the demo. 100%. And like when anybody's doing like any sort of presentation or demonstration with me, if I'm like a sales pitch, like I'm like, no, just, can I just take over? Like, can you just stop with your slideshow and can we just go here? Because I have a lot of questions already for you. So
yeah,
anywho,
I can see that.
Yeah. But no, I think that there's also so many different personality tests out there now. And depending on what it is that you're wanting to kind of utilize it for as well, like I did the Gallup-Clifton Strengths years ago too. And that one's really cool. I think it's 26. And that one's very specific to skill set in the workplace, like very specific types of skills. I should say specific, but like that one really helped me. I'm more of a strategist. I can't remember. There's like four or five overarching kind of themes, and all the different, you get basically ranked from 1 to 26 on all these different types and where you are. So you have your top 5, and then each of them have like are underneath a theme. So for me, I just know that 3 out of my 5 are strategy. So that's just what I can remember. But yeah, and that's really important, I think, when you're like building something like a professional kind of say resume or just again, having the words for what it is that you do or you're naturally good at, gifted at, right?
Yeah, that's a big one too. Yeah, when you're trying to like sell yourself and
especially on soft skills.
Yeah,
I think
this is interesting because I was talking to I had a call yesterday. So this is right. And I have used, I think probably, I don't know where it came from, whether it's the manifesting generator from human design or whatever, but they said, what's your strength? And I said, I have a unique ability to connect the dots where other people can't and see things that other people would not see. And that's where I help people with coaching. I help people see the blind spots. I help them get out of their head and then connect those dots to help them move forward. And that's what I said. And I know I read that in some kind of profile somewhere. I was like, yes, that's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm really good at it.
And that's such a soft, like, how can you explain that?
How would you describe it to someone if you hadn't read it? What do you do? I don't know. I'm just like, I have this ability
to see things. Well, I remember, I'll never forget my very first job. So I was at Moxie's and I was 16 years old and I was a hostess. One of the jobs is to wipe down the menus and they had they were inside a film and you'd wipe them down for food and kids and whatever. Nowadays they throw them away. Back then we did a lot of wiping.
COVID.
We did a lot of wiping. And now you got a QR code. You don't have to wipe shit.
I hate the QR code menu. I keep going.
Anyway, I'll never forget because, so this is where the Gallup-Clifton strength really was like, okay, duh. So my number one strength is called input. So I have high input. So I can take in a lot of information at once. I can read and then memorize and keep it and file it away. And you ask anybody, I'm the phone a friend. My friends always laugh because it's like, if I know a lot or I know a little bit about a lot. Anywho, I'll never forget because Mike Marcotte, he was chatting with a customer. And of course, as the owner and the manager, you don't know shit about what's going on in your restaurant. But you don't. You don't know the details of what's happening. Here I am, a 16-year-old hostess, wiping down a menu. And he was chatting with some lady, and this lady was asking him questions about what's in the case, it's called a case or something. Anyway, I can't remember what it's called. And I literally rattled off the ingredients. I'm like, Mexi rice with the brown blah, 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 and cilantro and the chipotle dip. And he was like, how do you know that? And I'm like, because I read menu. All day. Well, and it just like, and honestly, at that point in time, I remember saying to myself, I actually don't know how I know this. But I know this.
That's so fascinating. That's like one of those key moments.
It is a key moment.
Realize something.
But I had lots of those types of moments and where people would be like, how do you know this? I've had so many people go, how do you know this? And I'm like, because I just absorb information. And so it was the first time where I was validated when I took this Clifton Strengths. And it was like, my number one is input. And my second is learn. So
you should take it again.
So between the two, we should. Yeah.
I have a frog in my throat.
Yeah, I will just
38.
You know what we should do?
Clear the energy?
No, that's what you do. Because it'll create a spike. It'll create a spike. And then you edit it out. It creates a spike in the sound.
You know what?
Let's keep that in.
You know what we can also do?
What else?
That also clears the energy in the room.
Well, we just cleared it. We did a clear.
Yeah, like an energy.
I learned that from Curtis.
Curtis
Huseman.
From
Censored YY Z.
Is that what he is?
Yes.
Oh.
He's the best. Shout out to Curtis.
I didn't know he was something else before. I love Curtis. Curtis is amazing. We've talked about a lot of different things in this and a lot of different tests. And so we should list them. My list is coming out right now. We should list them.
How are we going to list them? When are we going to do that?
Right now. We're just going to say, okay, so we started with Myers-Briggs. Because I'm pretty sure I've done all these. There's also the colors test.
Oh my gosh. There's so many different.
Have you done that one?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so Myers-Briggs, we talked about the DISC test. The DISC test was on crystal.com. Is that what it was called?
There's one. Yeah, crystalknows.com.
Crystal Knows. KNOWS.
Yeah.
crystalknows.com. That's the one we took. So there's a plug for them. If you do that, you can download the PDF for free. Because I sent it to Nick to download the PDF. Like, just do that. And then they'll send you email follow-up and stuff like that. You can unsubscribe. But do that and download it so you know it's really interesting. Myers-Briggs, a DISC test. We talked about the 5 love languages, which is really interesting, not only for your personal relationships, but also for your work relationships, really any relationship. We talked about, what else?
Enneagram.
The Enneagram test. So you can Google that and find one. Again, don't be afraid to pay for something. A lot of them will say, after you fill out the test to get your results, pay $20 or $2 or something. Like, don't be afraid to do that to get those results. Okay. It's very normal. And then the one you just talked about.
Gallup Clifton Strengths or Strengths Finder. They've rebranded. I don't know if they're under Clifton. Gallup Strengths Finder. I know I get different emails. I can't remember which it is. So
I wonder if that's the one we did. We did one at Avonlea and we put a lot of our team through it too. And it was super beneficial as well.
There's one that I did, and that's what I've been looking for here, and I can't remember what it was called, but that one also was another one where it was like more of a professional setting and tests were really good for like management and like how to like working with their employees and vice versa, kind of. So, but I don't remember what it was. So that's not helpful.
Not helpful at all. And then from the astrological side, there's your human design. There's free ones to figure out what your human design is. And gene keys. What else is there? Gene key, human design. And then like the app that we use, it's called The Pattern, I believe, or Patterns.
It's a really cool app.
It's a really, really good app. Yeah. If you're really interested in your birth chart, it's been bang on. And basically what it does, it tells you what astrological cycle you're going through at whatever point in time. So if you're going to see changes.
I actually should take a look at that again, because we looked at that probably like quite a few months ago now. Yeah. And I should kind of take a look at it and see where we're at now.
Yeah. I had a big cycle that was like a 2-year cycle just come to a close. And I was like, and I feel it too. I think it was a relationship one. And it was terrifying because too, you're reading it and it's kind of like, it's like a horoscope, but it's not like your horoscope. I'm reading it and a lot of the things were true, but it talked about a relationship that was, struggling. And whenever there's struggling relationships, you always, think it's your spouse or your partner or that kind of thing. And we were okay. But, we worked through it. And when it came to a close, basically it said, coming to a close that, it's not a bad thing. You've just worked through this cycle. It means you've done the work and come out the other side. So it's a really cool app to look at. But I think to wrap it all up, just remember that personality tests are your personality and they will change. They're more fluid. So don't get too latched onto what those say, but you can use them in so many different ways to enhance your life and relationships
and and finding the words, perfect example with you and this conversation that you had to describe yourself, right? Yeah. Like how does one tell somebody that I'm Google Brandi, that people, I mean, I guess that's self-explanatory.
Yeah. You're Google Brandi. Like, what? Kidding.
Anyway. Okay. Well, Jen,
that's it for today.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us on Unsuccessful, the podcast where you suck.
But so do we.
But that's okay.
Someone said, I think it's so funny that you guys giggle after every time you say the tagline. I feel like it's so awesome. Next week on Unsuccessful, surprise, we don't actually know what's coming. Why? Well, we didn't record a few weeks ago because we just really weren't feeling like it, and now we're a little bit behind. But hey, that's real life, and if there's one thing we've learned, it's that sometimes life feels like a total dumpster fire, but at least it's your dumpster fire. So you are not alone, and tune in next week to see what's up on Unsuccessful, the podcast where we help you suck just a little bit less. See you next time.